This is season 2 of Talking to the Dead with Janet Kubik. How are you, Janet?
Hey, Joe. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, spring is here.
Yes. Spring has sprung. Actually, right now I'm looking outside and it's pouring rain, but it's absolutely beautiful. So not going to complain at all.
So we had a little bit of a break between
Yes.
season 1 and season 2. Much needed break.
Yes. Absolutely.
We figured some things out. We figured that these little microphones that we're wearing might help our audio situation a little bit. Yours is better hidden than mine.
You need longer hair.
Yeah. This is the longest my hair has ever been, actually. It's got a lot of gel in it. But we also thought about some ideas for season 2, just to sort of do a little bit of a preview. And we thought maybe we will have some more guests. And yesterday we were speaking on the telephone, and we thought about ideas for today, and a few ideas came forward. And then we said to each other, oh, we'll just figure it out at the time.
Yeah, we said throw it all out the window and let's just do it.
Yeah, so guess what? It's the time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on things on the break? Do you have anything coming forward or not?
Yeah, well, I think the break, as you sort of said earlier, was really much needed. And I think that was in many, many ways. As we all know, sort of the elephant in the room is that we are going through still this global pandemic.
Yeah. And
it was really interesting for me because I really feel like in the early part of this year, I'm hoping, went through what felt to me like the darkest part of the shift.
In 2021, early 2021.
Early 2021, yeah. And I mean, I by no means mean that we're out of the woods or that there are not incredibly dark things happening right now, because there are. But for me personally, it felt like we reached that sort of lowest of the low. Now, I'm hopeful that that is the case, obviously. But yeah, it was a really intense time, and being so energetically sensitive and aware and connected to energy, not only of those who've passed, like spirit that, we talk to here on the show, but also just environmentally and globally and being connected to humanity. It was a really dark time. And I was thankful, very thankful, that I had gone through all that I had gone through in terms of understanding what my connection is and understanding the world from that energetic perspective, and having had an opportunity to really hone some of those skills in terms of managing energy and understanding it, and sort of being able to kind of detach a little bit from it, so that even though I was feeling it really, really intensely, I still felt like I was almost sort of observing it in a way, as opposed to sort of really engaging in it, which is a skill that I don't think I had before this whole awakening process and this whole sort of relationship with spirit became developed. So I was really, really grateful at that time. Yeah, because it was really, really dark. And I've said before, I think on the podcast or maybe in my emails and things that I send out, that through all of this transition that we're going through as a race, as an existence, as hard as it has been, and harder, of course, on others than on some, it's not the same experience for everybody, but everybody is feeling it, that there has always been this undercurrent of hope, this undercurrent of positivity. Yeah, in that this is something that, as challenging as it is for all of us, is needed. And if we can, pull up our bootstraps and just hang on and ride the wave and work our way through it, and really get to work in changing the things that we need to change, that it's leading us in a really, really positive direction. So yeah, it's as much as we've been sort of on hiatus from this kind of work, you know, this on camera kind of work, there's been a lot of work going on, not only for me, but for everybody. And as I say all this, I'm starting to get distracted. So if you're new to
That's
the podcast,
good.
yeah, I don't know, Joe, if you want to explain about that or if you want me to just dive into it.
Go ahead.
Okay. So here we go. So what happens for me is that when spirit is ready to sort of step forward, they're always present. They say, they've said that to me from the beginning. It's not that they're not here. They're here. They're always around, however that is, but they're always around and present. But when they are sort of ready to step forward, or they're sort of ready to be heard or to communicate, then I start to get these little sort of tells. That's the second time I've used air quotes today. I don't know what's going on there.
I thought I was the air quote guy.
I know what's going on. You're rubbing off on me. So there are these things that sort of happen to me that indicate to me that spirit is wanting to sort of step forward. So one of them is the clearing of my throat. So a lot of that going on. And I also get very distracted. So it's hard for me to really focus in on what I'm saying. Kind of like right now, I'm like forcing myself to form sentences right now.
Yeah.
So that to me indicates that spirit is coming forward. I have no idea what they want to say because, as you said, we just went into this totally open to whatever was going to unfold. So I'm a little nervous, to be honest. I'm a little bit excited, but if you're ready for it, I think I might just try to pass it over to them.
I have a blank sheet of notes today, so I am ready. anything you want to bring forward, let's have fun with it.
Perfect. All right. So I'll give you a second here and sort of settle into this connection. So this is my guide. We introduced her in season 1. Her name is Myrtle, and she is my own personal guide. We all have our own individual guides that walk with us, as well as many, many others. But just to give you some reference, this is Myrtle, who is my guide, and she says, "Hello, my friends, and an exciting time indeed." And she says, "I don't mean to say that with any disrespect, or I can't quite get the word, so I'm just trying to hone in on what she's trying to say so I can say it very clearly. It's about, I'm not getting it quite directly from her, but it's something about dishonoring. There's no intent to dishonor or disrespect the trauma that is transpiring in the human existence at this time, because indeed it is severe and intense, and as was mentioned earlier, needed." She says, "But I digress, exciting times indeed. As spring begins to spring in your existence, regardless of where you live on the planet, in some places a little more obviously than in others, as blossoms begin to bloom, the grass begins to grow, etc., etc. A change in the energetic climate is too unfolding, not just in the physicality of the earth itself or the time structure set in place, such as spring, in order to keep you all organized, so to speak, but energetically as well. We indeed are at the dawn of a new era, an era in which humanity will shift itself from a lower vibrational frequency into a much higher one. This will be what is needed or serve as a catalyst for a much easier ride in the human experience. As we continue to explore and understand the makings and workings of the human existence itself, we have been through some very, very, my friend, tumultuous times. Not only for the planet itself, but for those souls who have chosen to walk in the evolution of humanity at this time. However, it is indeed time for change. We have gathered what we need to gather in order to move the race, the existence, the species forward in a gentler, kinder, more forgiving way. Indeed, ups and downs are a part of where you are and will always continue to be. However, the intensity and drama, so to speak, as well as trauma of those experiences will begin to subside, creating a much smoother and indeed gentler ride. And she says, in love and light, my friend, amen. And that is Myrtle's way of, for me, in our relationship and in our conversations, of letting me know that she's sort of gotten the point across that she wanted to, or has brought forward the message that she wanted to at this time. So thank you, Myrtle. I don't really remember what I said, which tends to happen when I'm channeling, but I have a feeling it was probably lovely and very profound, as she usually is. So Joe, do you have any comments on what came forward? Because honestly, like, I don't even exactly remember.
I had them as Myrtle was talking, but then I'm going without pen and paper this season, so I didn't write any notes down. I don't really have any comments. I think here's something that I do find interesting, and I don't know how relevant it is to this conversation. Channelers and mediums like you all seem to have the same message at the same time. So there are some other, channelers and mediums that we follow online, and you guys sort of seem to be in lockstep, that we were in a very tumultuous, dark time, and then things are shifting. I think one of the big shifts was sort of in the winter, and then at the beginning of the entire winter, but literally from like start of the winter till spring. And then I do have a question for you. I don't know if you want to answer this personally, but when you say darker energies, how can you put that in another way, layman's terms kind of thing?
Yeah. So I guess like from a sort of more scientific, not that I'm the least bit scientific, but I think you could use the term like a lower vibrational energy, energies that are weightier. And I say dark because I think it's sort of the best way to describe how it feels for me personally. It just feels very low, and it feels very, another word is bleak. Like it's when it just feels really dark, like very hopeless, very depressed. I feel like it's probably the energy that those who deal with or manage depression, that feeling of just really being low, really, really low. It's funny, even as I talk about it, I don't know if you can see in my body language, the energy just sort of settles in. And it just really takes you down. It's just energy that really takes you down. I think it was a time where, as much as I have a faith, if you want to call it that, like a trust in the evolution of humanity and in what's happening in our world, in the bigger picture perspective, in my relationship with spirit, in the presence of spirit and all of their love and support. I just got completely derailed. So I'm going to try to go back and then we'll check in on that. Even with all of that foundation that I have, I was really concerned. Right. I felt really concerned about the world and the people of the world, and in some cases myself. And that's where I was so thankful that I had traversed so much of my awakening before this time, because doing that gave me that foundation to carry me through.
Right.
Yeah. It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm really thankful to be what I really feel like is on the other side of that. And again, I don't want to diminish where we still are and all of the work that's still going to have to be done. I I've heard, you know, you mentioned other energy healers or those who are sort of spiritually connected. And it seems to be that, again, everybody's kind of on the same page in that this is sort of a transition, is it era or a transition time on the planet? So it's not like we're just going to all of a sudden, you know, open our eyes and things are going to have changed. There's a lot of work to do to change the things that have gone wrong, and I don't even want to say gone wrong, because there really is no right or wrong. And as I think Myrtle said, you know, it was exploration. It was them understanding what it's like to be in human form, what it's like to marry a 5-dimensional spirit or soul with a 3-dimensional physical body, you know, understanding the impacts that has and how to sort of manage it. I've been told before that is, you know, one of the reasons we're here, that we're in the process of creating another existence in which life can, I feel like they're sort of stepping in here as I'm talking. It's almost like where we have another option as a soul or spirit to live,
right?
To experience some form of life. And I remember them saying to me at one point, and it sounded so absurd at the time, but they said, it might surprise you to know that in the grand scheme of things, Earth is actually pretty new. Which seems so weird to us because, you know, we feel like Earth has existed and humanity's existed for so long, but really it's a fairly new existence. And so we're really engaging in this exploration of how to, and I think I said this before, marry a soul or spirit with a physical body, because in order to do that from an energetic standpoint, there needs to be more than just those blissful, high vibrational 5D energies. There has to be lower energies, because lower energies are what hold matter together. And I feel like I sound like I know what I'm talking about from a scientific perspective. And I'm feeling quite smart right now, but I really have learned all of this. This is my understanding, my personal understanding from what I've received from spirit. You know, so these lower vibrational energies are necessary in order to create this particular or specific existence where things exist in the form of matter, including human beings and our bodies and the things, you know, we're sitting on or we're looking at outside. So it's about understanding how to find a balance between those lower vibrational energies that exist here to create matter and the 5D energies that are so much higher frequency so that the spirit or soul can come into this existence. It's kind of fascinating, and it's certainly a whole new perspective for me. I mean, I never would have thought of the world in this way. If you'd asked me, I think it's been roughly 6 years now for me since I started the beginning of this awakening. If you'd asked me 7 years ago, none of this would have made any sense to me. It just seems completely out of my realm. But now it's just how I understand the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to answer this or Myrtle or someone else, but
Okay.
I mean, you said elephant in the room. You're talking about obviously the COVID-19 situation.
Yeah.
I think it is, and I think you may have mentioned this either now or in one of our other conversations offline, but it's more than COVID, right? We see it as this being a COVID situation because it's the elephant in the room, the biggest problem and the most obvious thing. But there are a lot of other problems or issues, if you want to be politically correct, going on in the world. And they're all very interrelated, right? One leads to the next. So do you want to talk about COVID at all or at another time? Because I will say this. You said to me a year ago When we were told, we live in Ontario, Canada. I don't know if anybody's living in the States or farther away. We were told that it's going to be a 2-week lockdown, and then everything's under control. You right away said, no, it's going to go on longer. And then I said to you, oh, a vaccine's coming out. Once a vaccine hits the population, it's going to be everything back to normal. And you said no. You / Myrtle said no. And then now we have variants. And so the vaccine is not as effective. I mean, it may be effective on the first version of the virus, but maybe not on subsequent versions, right? So this is an ongoing problem, and seems to be something that we're going to have to live with, like we live with the flu, right? We don't ever think, let's cure the flu. It's just sort of always there. We just sort of take steps and precautions against it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. As we're talking about this, there's so much coming forward, because I think COVID-19, it means so much to our existence in so many ways. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit to the beginning of what you were saying, with the idea that, not only COVID-19, but all sorts of our issues, our humanity issues are really surfacing at this time. And I've really come to understand the process of healing as looking inward and allowing those things, those ills that we're experiencing, to surface, because they need to be surfaced or on the surface so that they can be heard and acknowledged and addressed. And that's the way that we're going to heal them. And boy, we've really allowed, as humanity as a whole, I think we are actually, and it doesn't feel this way maybe, but we are actually allowing all of these things to surface so that they can be addressed and they can be healed and released, and we can let them go. And that sounds very simple. And again, I don't want to diminish this process, because it's going to be an intense process, but we're going to at least now be able to work our way through them, as opposed to burying them and keeping them held within our beings. And COVID, for me, and what I've come to understand, and just a piece of this COVID puzzle, is that we needed the opportunity to have the time to slow down for a second.
Right. You said that from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the way we were moving, and as Myrtle she's here and she's sort of saying there's no judgment. She wants to preface this conversation by saying that there is no judgment in how we were operating as a race or as a species. Okay. It was as it was intended to be. In the process of any exploration, all aspects of an exploration or an existence or an experiment, so to speak. And she says, I do not diminish you to being only merely an experiment. She says, but an exploration is a more encompassing word, or a more specific word to explain what is happening in this human existence. Oh, and I've just gotten derailed here. So give me a second. She says it's important to know that there is no judgment in what is being said at this time, in that there were many ills in the functionality of society. Again, this is not to be judged or blamed. She says, in fact, we are moving forward through judge and blame and past it. It is important to move past this phase, which is why she says, I am reiterating so much that this is no longer needed, and not even an expectation, or even in fact a reality. You cannot blame ones for doing their job thoroughly and completely, which is what the human race in past times has been tasked with doing. So we leave the judgment and the blame behind, and we simply talk about the process of moving forward and healing. And she says, in COVID-19 was indeed a catalyst, as well as an opportunity for this healing on a mass scale to begin or to transpire. Time is of the essence is a phrase you are all familiar with, or most. It truly is the truth. In the functionality of society, time became secondhand. It became a lesser priority to other things such as money, power, fame. She says, truly, time is the ultimate gift in the human experience. And the way you had come to experience it was not honoring or accepting it as the priority that it was or is. And this needed to be halted in order to begin the process of recalibrating the concept, of time, how we experience time, how you experience time, how you live in relationship to time. Your time in the human existence is swift. It's brief, although it may not feel like it on your darkest of days. It truthfully is. And therefore, honoring the now, honoring the presence of your experience every time, each and every time you traverse the human experience, if you so choose as a soul, is, sorry, I just got a bit derailed there, so hold on 1 second. This keeps happening today. I keep getting like pulled. I don't know if there's other energies that are trying to pull my attention.
It's the rain. It's the rain's interfering with the connection.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to pick it back up with Myrtle. I have no idea what she was talking about, so we'll see.
I think she wants to hear my joke first.
Oh, do you have a joke? Is that why she stopped
Well,
me?
don't think, Myrtle, that I didn't notice that you said time has become secondhand. I caught that.
Oh!
Wordplay.
Okay. She says, well done, my friend.
I caught that.
That was very good. I like that.
That was very clever for you. Anyway.
And you to pick up on it. Okay, so let's see if we can get back to her energy. She says laughter. She says the joy of laughter. She says is so important in the human existence and something else that has gone far too long underappreciated and undervalued. She says, move forward or take this from today, my friends, knowing that yes, tumultuous times indeed, but hang on to that ray of sunshine. And she's winking at you because you referenced the rain. Yes, that indeed the time for healing has been engaged. And she just stopped. And now, after pausing, she says, in love and light, my friend, and she's winking and smiling. Amen. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I think there's, it almost feels like today, when we kind of came into this not really knowing what we were going to talk about, but sort of knowing at the same time that there's so much going on, I feel like this is just sort of the beginning of them helping us to work our way through this, you know?
Okay. There was a lot of information received today. Yeah. So I think we should just sleep on it, think about it, ponder it, rewatch it. Any comments, Janet?
I just sort of get the sense, and it's really an interesting feeling, but it's coming in really strongly. Like, this is only the beginning. And I don't get any sort of sense of specificity in that statement because it feels to me like it's really multifaceted. And they're talking about so many things when they make that statement. Exciting, I guess.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great day. I would like to remind people to rate, review, subscribe, share this YouTube show / podcast with whoever you think might like to hear today's message. And also go to janetkubik.com, sign up for her email list, and you will be the first one to know about everything. Kind of like Janet does with COVID information.
Yeah. And I just quickly want to say thank you so much to Myrtle and the Spirit Realm for being present and showing up for us today to help, not only Joe and I to have this time together doing this show, but also to be supporting all of us at this time.
Okay.
And always, she says, and always. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yay.
On this side and the other side. Bye, Janet.
Bye.